Welcome back. Today's topic is the glass ceiling, real barrier or convenient excuse. And to help us unpack this is a woman who's broken several ceilings herself, Ronke Awojodu, a dynamic global health leader and research trailblazer. Ronke is the CEO and Director of Research at Patient First Clinical Trials, overseeing multi-specialty research across the DMV area in the US. She has led international clinical trial projects across several therapeutic areas and is passionate about diversity in research and amplifying underrepresented voices in healthcare. She holds a nursing degree from Babcock University, Nigeria, and a master's in public health from University of North Texas Health Science Center. Ronke brings a cultural, patient-first lens to everything she does, and today she's bringing that wisdom to the big conversation. Welcome, my namesake, Ronke's Rock, right?
Yes, we do.
Yay! So good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I literally just hijacked Ronke. I hosted her mom's 80th on Saturday, and I just hijacked her for this show. So thank you so much for coming.
Here.
Thank you very much. All right, so ladies, hundreds of years ago, maybe even like decades of years ago, I don't think the ceiling was glass. It was just a brick ceiling. And I think it turned to glass when, tokenism. Okay, let some women come in, and now I don't know what we have. Do you still believe in the glass ceiling? What does the glass ceiling look like now, Ronke?
I do believe in the glass ceiling because personally I've experienced it even in everything that I've been doing. So yes, it does exist. I would say definitely there's been some progress being made, but we're not there yet. So that glass ceiling is still very much there.
Even where you live in America, where is the land of the free?
You have to believe that being a woman, a minority woman for that. So it's like a double-edged sword in my case. So yes, it still exists and it's still there.
It's still there.
We just need to keep advocaking and keep showing our worth.
Okay, so DT, what is the glass? It's still there too. Wow.
That's why we're advocating, for women inclusion and all that. I'm an advocate for that because I want to see, those things shift, all the areas that are blocking us, and they will not do it. I mean, it's getting better now. Some of them don't do it like they used to do it before. That they are doing that. They tell you can't go beyond it. But now it's subtle in a way. Some of them are subtle. They're not telling you can't get there, but they have a way of still blocking, making sure that you don't get there. So we advocate for inclusion, that women need to be given at least more than maybe they're giving us like 25% or 30%, but we want more. And that's where all these women movements and all is coming from. So I believe it's there, and we need to keep advocating for that.
Right. I told you look like a hustler. Do you believe that anybody can stop you because you're a woman?
You can't be stopped. It's there. It's fully there. For example, look at the Natasha's case. Part of why what is happening to her is because she's a woman, and she wanted to allow people to hear her voice. That's all is that. And then to make it worse, there's even women that are even supporting the men at the National Assembly to fight against her. So is there even you can be in an establishment, a woman can be your stumbling block.
Yes, true.
The glass ceiling that will prevent you from getting to where you are getting to. But we are fighting. But we should not just fight, pay lip service to it. But come to think of it, Natasha wanted to fight. She's still fighting. Are they allowing her? So, but we won't say because there are barriers. We'll just sit down. And then another thing again, it will not fall on our laps.
Right.
It will not fall on our laps. It's a huge fight.
Okay, so this glass ceiling is not going to break by itself. So how are we? What are the things that we need to do before we get to that, actually, what does it look like if I'm going to tell my daughter there is a glass ceiling, what am I explaining to her that she's going to face? What does it look like?
So let me give you a typical example. So, of course, with my name, I'm originally from Nigeria.
Yes.
And a lot of times I hear people first tell me, well, you have a good command of English. And I'm like,
exactly. That's our first.
What am I supposed to be speaking?
True.
How is that different from you guys? Or, you're doing great for a woman.
I'm like, compliments.
I'm like, that's not a compliment. Or when I tell people my name is pronounced Ronke. The O is the long O. The E is the short E. If you can't get it right, you better keep practicing.
I like it. We talked about that. Was it last week at the table?
Right. Yes. So I would say an example of it is, that you have the same qualification as the person that's sitting at the next desk to you. but then they make
No
them a senior
promotion,
manager
yeah.
versus you.
True.
I know there's this idea of we're waiting to be
Yes.
picked, and I think a lot of us need
Yeah.
to kind of dead that mentality of waiting to be picked,
Right.
and really putting ourselves out there. You know, we're doing a lot of work already,
Yeah.
but we're waiting to say, oh, you know, maybe they'll pick me. No,
Yes.
you have to step into it and speak up for yourself.
So true.
So well, fortunately I don't have a daughter, but I would
Yes.
say to a daughter, or if I had a daughter, I would tell her, you know, you can expect it in compliments that would not be a kind of compliment that is given to your male
Don't
counterpart.
giggle at it.
Right.
Right.
Don't giggle. If you have something to say it right there and then, so that it sinks in that I'm not taking this,
Right.
and that's where that starts from.
Right.
But yes, definitely it's still there, and we can get it from the subtle, you know, you speak
Yes.
good for a
Yes.
woman, or you're doing great for like
for a woman.
Are you gonna tell a man the same thing?
Yes, you're doing great for a true. In fashion, Dr. T, you're in fashion. You think that in that kind of industry, I don't know if you
It shouldn't
experience.
be.
Yes.
I think for us, I think women, we own
The
that
fashion
yes.
space.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Though we have men that do. I
Yes.
think we own that space. There's no. I don't
Right.
think it's we are not expecting that much of it. Yeah.
Right.
So if you are very good at what you do, you
Yes.
definitely shine. There's no. I don't think so. I've been in the industry for 3 decades. I don't think so. Nobody will say you shouldn't do anything. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for some of it, because there are women who are able to sort of, we have quite a number, because even in the banking industry,
Yes,
we have a
right.
lot of female CEOs, MDs, and so some women have been able to break into that glass ceiling. But I don't know if those women that are there, if they're doing enough, because we talked about how sometimes it's the women. It's the women. And I've been in meetings, a lot of time these days, I find myself around a lot of men. Most of the time, I'm the only woman, you know, in management and stuff like that. And I'm always conscious of what am I doing to ensure that there are
Other
more
women,
women. So what are the women at the top? What should they be doing to break this glass ceiling a little bit more so that other women can get to the top?
So I know everyone is familiar with mentorship, right?
Yeah.
But what about
Yes.
sponsorship?
Yes.
Okay.
Both. Yeah.
Mentorship is when, you see someone, you go on someone's LinkedIn page and you're like, oh, this person has this degree. Can you mentor me? Can you guide me? But sponsorship is someone that is sitting in that room and speaking for you.
Yes.
That is fighting for you. Because truth be told, in those rooms where decisions are being made, we might not be there. And you want someone that will go to war for you in those rooms. You want someone that would speak for you even in absentia. So for those that have been able to break those ceilings, I would say please, please, and please be a sponsor.
Right.
Sponsor somebody else. I'm not saying sponsor a woman just because she's not qualified,
Yes.
just because
She's
she's
not
a woman.
competent, yes.
No. If there's, there are competent women out there that can do the same job. And make sure you're sponsoring them. You're speaking up for them, because that's what the men do
Right.
well,
For
right?
themselves.
In
So
their
true.
caucus, in their groups, they're speaking up for each other.
Yes.
They're saying, oh, I know this person, we've worked together, and I can vouch for this person. And as people that were waiting to be sponsored to make sure, because when that person sponsors you, they're putting their name on the line
on
for
the
you.
line, yeah.
So you got to make sure that you're also living up to that expectation. So I would say for women up there, even for men, you can sponsor a woman too,
So true.
right? As long as you're doing great and they know their onions
Yes.
and can do it right.
So true.
Yes, speak up for them. Don't just mentor them and say, oh, this is how you should do it.
Yes. You're not
That's
going to
all
open the
theory,
door.
Mention
right?
their
The
names,
practical is
the places
mentioning
that
the
matter.
when you're in those rooms and they say, oh, we're looking for a
Yeah.
general manager
Right.
that can do this. Well,
Oh,
I
I
know
think
this
so,
person,
yeah.
right? And I know she will do a fantastic job.
So true.
You know, one of the roles that I got from my recent, from my last place before I started my own business, it was a woman that left from where I was working. She went to that new organization and they were looking for a project manager. And she said, well, I worked with this girl at my old organization. Can you bring her along with me?
Awesome.
Sponsorship. I wasn't there, right? But she sponsored me.
Absolutely. So yeah, sponsorship, because I see a lot of women, especially when, because especially when they're the only woman in the lineup. I see a lot of artists do it. You know, like singers, when they say, I'm the only woman that made
Yeah,
it
yes,
amongst
you
men,
do,
and they say it with
yeah.
so much pride. But for me, it breaks my heart, because I mean, what are you?
doing
Why is
for
that
the
something
other
to be
women?
to be
True,
happy about?
true.
That you're the only woman in the lineup.
In fact, when I see such flyers or what I say, oh my, this is so, it's not professional at all. Where are the women? Or I see all men for an event. I say, So we don't have women that can actually speak. No, it's not so. If I know the organizers, I send a message. I say, no, this is wrong. This is not right for women. You don't do, we have to speak up. We speak up for ourselves.
Well, speaking of, sometimes you really have the intention of sponsoring somebody, and then because maybe you are vocal, they will term you as, that's in America, they say troublesome person.
Yes.
Maybe you are this type that you want to push for goals. They say, I don't you know her, she has been sleeping around to get to where where she is. So sometimes things like that can make you want to just calm down. I remember in the Nigerian Bar Association in Ibadan, it took 60 years for us to have the first female chair person. Then after that, the men are saying, before you people will smell it again. Can you imagine that? That is like even sending fear. If you don't have somebody that is vocal at the forefront, a woman that will be like, okay, no, we are not going to agree. We have come out and we are going to continue to forge ahead. So the sponsorship part, I won't say that in Nigeria, if you are not careful, they tag you with all kinds of names. Really? But we should still go about doing it diplomatically. Because we cannot beat these guys. If we don't push, and then maybe re-strategize the way we've been doing it before. You know?
And I like that if we don't push, because you agree that there are some women who use that glassing as an excuse, not to just
not to do anything.
Yes.
Okay.
That is definitely, yes, I do agree with that. And it's coming from a place of, you know, like a woman is very assertive and very outspoken. They term her as
troublesome.
They don't see it as a leadership skill.
Yes.
Right, exactly. It's the B word. But and I think it's good for people to know that you're outspoken too, right? Yeah. I'm sure in any room that I walk into, eyes my role and be like, oh yeah, right. We don't know what she's gonna come up with, but hey,
angry black woman,
deal with it. It will still be said. And one thing is, you can never question what I can do. You can't question my professionalism. So definitely, you know, like you said, yes, if we don't push, it's not gonna. It won't just happen. Absolutely. So because no one is just going to drop it on our laps, right? It doesn't come easy. And once we get the opportunity to be there and we're good examples there, I think it kind of makes it easier for us to be able to bring other people.
Yes, I know no one has to be a role model, no one has to be a model, but every woman must recognize that whatever you do is going to impact the girls that are coming in. Because I see a lot of women who don't negotiate well, who don't put themselves out there. And also, because oftentimes I've heard people say, if you put out a vacancy to say looking for a waitress, men will apply.
Yes.
But if you put out a vacancy, even women were thinking, I'm not sure, can I do it? Women are always looking to be 100% perfect for the role. But men, even if they're not good for the role, so how do we ensure we change this for women, for girls especially? Having this conversation, especially for girls that are coming up, because we need to end this women, you know, second guessing themselves, and then saying there's a glass ceiling. Sometimes it's not the glass ceiling; it's just you second guessing yourself.
And I'll say for that, I would say, you know, I have a lot of young girls that I take it upon myself to mentor, to be a good example too. Because again, if no one tells them, we're going to continue this perpetual thing that we've always known as, we're just going to wait until we're called, we're going to wait until someone tells us it's your turn. So it's about making sure that, you know, and it comes from the daily things we do, right? We might be in a bus, you might be riding, you might go to someone's office and you see a lady out there that is slouching or not feeling confident in what she's doing. Right there, hey, what's happening? You got this. You can do this. I saw, I know what your resume is. Or even when someone applies for a job and they don't get the role, let it not be that generic, oh, sorry, you didn't make it. It should be give positive feedback. What can you do better, right? It's in the day-to-day, like we don't have to host a session specifically, but it's in how we interact on a daily basis with the people we come across that helps them to know if this person can do it, then I can do it, right?
Absolutely, because I mean, I'm seeing behind the cameras, for example, I see, but I don't see a woman being able to handle the camera and then anyone telling her in 2025 that, no, that's for men, absolutely. So women must speak up for themselves. You don't have to be 100% qualified. And I tell people this all the time. Men don't wait until they're 100% qualified.
That's right.
They will put themselves out there. For example, I've conducted recruitments recently. And I've just seen how the women, the girls, they're just lowballing and asking for small. And I'm seeing people that are not as qualified as them, who are guys, who are asking for more money. So we really need to let the girls know, reach for the stars. I don't know if
that's why we're advocating for all this. We have to. Those are the things we teach: self-esteem. Know what you have, then develop yourself. Because when you develop yourself, there's a way you have confidence when you know what you're worth, what you have within you, what you put inside of yourself. It gives you that confidence to be able to sit at the table. And I tell women also, you don't have to wait. Nobody needs to include you before you include yourself. If they don't, build your own table. I don't wait for people. If they don't ask me to come at the table, I create my own table and I ask other people to come and sit at the table. That's how I've done my own. So I don't wait.
I like that.
I'm waiting for you to come in. So if you're not coming, I'm not waiting. I will create my table and you'll be wondering, oh, she actually created that table. Yes, I'm creating it. And I'm going to call other women to come and sit on it. So we shouldn't be waiting.
You to my table.
I'll
just start creating a table now.
Please create it. We need to do that. I'm bold to do that. Once I see that people are, you know, doing politics and they're
Yes.
saying, is it this table? I can also create one.
Right.
I create my own and I call others to come and sit on it. So that's it.
Yes.
So we
You
shouldn't be
painted
afraid.
a scenario of a bartender. Maybe there's vacancy for a
Yes.
bartender. The young girl that wants to apply for that job, she knows that she's competent. She can do
Yes.
this job effortlessly.
Yes.
But there's something, you know, for that environment, entertainment industry. Sometimes
It's not good for girls.
it's not good for you want to go there. You cannot be. It's like he said that you take what's on the table or you go out. You know, all those ones. And then if you have been a victim and you have not been able to like come or speak, say your story, there's a tendency for it to like suppress your voice.
True. And I just
know?
made that an example, really.
No, I
because
know, I
even
know.
in politics, a lot of women shy away from politics, or sometimes they hold meetings at night.
Yes.
And
That
you know
will
how
not
many
be able
women,
to, yeah,
how many
yeah,
women
do
can,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
feel safe enough to have
True.
meetings in such environments. So a lot of male-dominated industries, it's not really because women cannot do it, but oftentimes it's not safe
culturally
enough.
doesn't even
But absolutely.
safe-
And then when they see you in that kind of area, they
will
think,
okay,
oh,
something is wrong. She's not.
yes,
She's promiscuous or
yes.
something like that.
But let's look. I mean, a vulnerable moment. Recently, I was in a male-dominated meeting, and I felt like I let myself down because I burst into tears.
Oh wow.
You know, and I felt like, oh my God, now they're going to tell me the women, which was what happened.
Emotional.
Women are emotional. Let's talk about the ways that nature even counts us out sometimes. Because we talked about this last week about how, really, if you hire someone and 1 minute they're pregnant, next minute they have, oh, my child's in the hospital.
is
These are
wrong.
things that
Yeah.
women have to go through
Yeah.
that sometimes also creates that
Ceiling.
ceiling.
Yeah, true.
You know, so for me, when that happened, I was like, oh man. Because now they're going to think, oh, women are up. But for me, it was just a moment. It has never happened before. It was just a moment of vulnerability. And till today, I really
feel
hate
so bad. You are
myself
beating
for
yourself
allowing-
up.
Yes,
People
because
compare,
I'm always thinking of the
that's
things I
Sometimes
do.
bursting out into tears is not really weakness.
Yeah, but people
Yeah,
think
like,
it is.
you know, the
And
men
because
that
I'm a
just
woman.
tell me that she's
Yes,
a
people
woman,
just think,
that's why
oh,
she's,
because she's a woman, she's, you know, so.
She's very
for me, I felt,
emotional.
But the issue of having meetings midnight, you see, we, the people that, the elite, women, we have to now be involved in politics. Because if we allow somebody in Bodija market that is like an Ilialoja that didn't, maybe primary school, she's the PDP woman leader or APC woman leader. She's the one, she's supposed to be at the forefront,
Yes.
shouting that, please, oh men, this 12
Exactly, it
o'clock
will
midnight
not work.
meeting, we
To
don't
say
want
that,
it, it
yes.
won't work. Women, are we in together, you know?
Yes.
But if we allow someone like that, and then when you think, they say, one senator
Because
is
sometimes
coming,
we're
oh,
just grateful to be, sometimes
included.
we're just grateful to be included. So we keep quiet when we're supposed to speak up and say,
Thank God we
I know
have
in
this.
meetings as well,
Yes.
I've had to say, you know what, this person cannot do this, she has a baby.
Yeah.
Right.
You literally cannot make her do this. I know what it
Yes.
feels to have like a
Yes.
4-month-old,
Yeah.
5-month-old. It cannot work, because I've had to speak up,
For
you know,
people,
in those kind
yeah.
of, but sometimes women were just grateful. So when we're around them, we're like the pick me,
yes.
and we
Yeah.
just go along
Pick
with
you.
everything they
So
say. I want
more
you, yes.
women, we should be more involved in politics and
outspoken.
strive to get to those positions, those strategic positions at the grassroots level, because that's where some of the main decisions are made.
Right.
When you are now in charge of a ward or you are in charge of a particular circle of women, you now like, this is our voice. And then, like, I was talking at the parliamentary union at the Oyo State House of Assembly. I was talking to them, gender equality. I'm like, there's no other person, any other group that is capable to promote a bill in the house more than you people. You work here, you don't like some things, go to the floor and say, this is what we are coming
Right.
with, you know, until you get that. But sometimes if you are in a place you want to raise your voice, like she said, they'll start shouting. So it's better to
Right.
create your table and invite
So
people.
I want to go back to this nature and also some of the things that sort of count us out somewhat, which is not. I mean, if I'm having a
There's
baby, I'm
nothing
having
we
a
can do
baby.
about it, yeah.
So
About
what do you say to that, Ronke?
So I would say to the organizations, and that's why it's always good to build a culturally sensitive organization, right? We have to make room, right? An organization cannot say, yeah, we're empowering women, but then
And she gets
you're not
pregnant,
giving
like,
them,
bye.
and then she gets pregnant, or she's pregnant maybe 3rd month, 4th month, 5th month, and you're already treating her like she's on maternity leave already, right? Because you have the instance where, oh no, she can't touch that.
Yeah,
She tell you she can't do it.
It's not a disease, it's pregnancy.
Right, it's not a disease, it's pregnancy. And to be able to give room, because again, I always believe in when people have the time that they need to take off and recalibrate and come back, they're more equipped to really do
Absolutely.
their best. So when it comes to cultural sensitivity, I would advocate for organizations to make sure that they are looking out for both men and women, right? Make sure that you're putting policies in place that empowers women, that doesn't make them feel like, well, now that I have a baby, now I'm losing 2 years in my career or
Yes.
3 years in my career. And even when a woman decides to take that career break, to not make it feel like when she comes back, then she's lost 3 years, right? Because a lot of us, even when we take those career breaks to take care of our young ones, we're looking forward. We're still advancing ourselves, right? We're still learning. We're still making sure that when we return back to the workforce, we're as good as someone that's been there without a break. So it's about creating room and creating that opportunity. And if we have women in power, we have women in HR to make sure that whatever HR benefit or package that you're creating leaves room for women, leaves room for them to be able to do mother nature, right? To be able to do things that they're supposed to do, because it boils down to work-life balance too, right? Because we want to make sure that we're there for our family, our children, the young ones that are still growing, but also not losing years in our career advancement.
So for in the last 5 years, the focus, have been on women empowerment and all that. And the men are saying, what's going on? It's only the women, and they are giving the grant, they're giving this. I say, do you know how long women,
how much time we have lost?
We
when we're told to just be quiet, we can't drive.
I see them
complain.
Any group I open, you see someone say, why is it only women? I say, which women? You know how long these women have been suffering before they even have the voice to even, speak. They don't even have the voice. So please allow us to enjoy this moment and let more women be able to enjoy all these grants, all these doors are opening and all. Then last week my husband was telling me that they are now having paternity leave in his organization.
Nice.
I say, you people, yes, we met 3 months. They are giving. I say, oh, wow, really? So if men are now, being given personality, why would we not, ask for what is ours? We must always make sure that we ask for what is due us, what we should be given.
Absolutely.
Let us have the voice, and then women should support women. That's it. We must support one another. Somebody was telling me one day that she doesn't have to support any woman just because she's a woman. I say, I'm going to support any woman just because she's a woman.
No, I won't support any woman.
I will support
because she's a
woman.
Because if you are not capable for that role.
No, of course, not. I'm not saying that you are not capable. If you are capable and I see that you are, I will support you. Some women will still support some men. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Even if you see 2 people, a man can do the same thing and a woman can do. They will support. They will still support the men. Some women will do that.
Organizations are now becoming more.
I'm not going to do that. If I know that you are capable, I will support you. Yes, but don't say. Some women still have that mental. They can't have that mental shift. When they see 2 people contesting for a particular role, so they look at it that. I think the man should be able to do better.
Woman should not be like that.
They can't have that mental shift. They just feel the man will do better. Why would you feel like that? So I will still vote for the woman. Once I know that she's capable, she's the one I will vote for. So we need to support one another.
Okay, you want to say something?
No, I'm mentor.
I mean, let's go back to, so what do we say to women who, I've seen brilliant women, brilliant women who just decide, it's not for me, I'm going to become a homemaker. Do you think that kind of also sends a signal to the fact that if you're choosing that, then you're kind of blocking the door for women who want to strive more in their career? Do you think that impacts how women are seen overall? Brilliant women who just choose, I'd rather just stay home with my kids, and that's valid.
Right.
So there's an undertone to it too. Maybe somebody is telling you to stay home.
You don't think a woman by herself will just decide?
You can't just wake up.
I've seen women that have told you that.
Okay, Ronke, do you agree?
I mean, I would say, first off, everybody's experience is different, right? Everybody's priority is different. Someone might be really smart, very intelligent, and just feel like,
I think Jumoke said something like that.
Yes, I've seen
brilliant.
I just, or they might have been in the workforce and they tried their best to change things and it didn't get changed. And some just feel like, like for example, if I was in an organization that didn't give room for me to be able to take time to take care of my children, or I didn't have a supportive spouse that would help and make sure that we're taking care of the children ourselves. Of course, my children come first. So, and that could be in the form of taking some years off, right? That could be in the form of, okay, I've tried this, maybe I'm creating my table, right? I'm leaving the workforce, I'm creating my own workforce. So, I mean, and there's some women that just feel like,
it's just
not
for me.
It's not for me. So I would say, everybody's story is different. The reason why they're choosing to do that, I'll say until I kind of hear their story. I don't think they're really not doing it just because they don't want to. There has to be something. Or it could be an experience of, I wish my mom was around to take care of me when I was younger, and they feel like, I don't want my kids to go through the same thing. Because again,
We
that's a
don't know. So
possibility.
everybody
So
So
true.
I think everybody, it's kind of different. I think if I want to just pick about real quick
Yes.
on what you said in terms of, making sure that we're supporting each other,
Yes.
making sure that, we're speaking up for each other. And if a man ever comes to you to want to discredit why we should not be equal in terms of giving us that voice or giving us what we deserve.
Right.
Because trust me, women work harder
Hard.
than
Yes,
some men,
to get-
right?
yes.
Just the
Yeah.
same way I would say as a minority woman, I would have to do something like 10 times
Before you
than
even-
a woman
yes.
that is not of my color for me
Yes.
to actually get the same thing that you're getting.
Yes.
And women supporting women, I don't know if Diola ever told you this, but when she wanted to get vendors for my mom's event, I told her, I said, I come from a lineage of strong women. And so I want to make sure if there's any woman out there that does something great, make sure that
Pick
they're
her.
one of the vendors that you pick. So, and it's about things like that. When you have the opportunity to be able to speak up for women,
Yeah.
when you have the opportunity to re-educate, because sometimes
Yes.
it's a matter of deading those
Yes,
those thoughts
unlearning
and-
those- yes.
unlearning, and to see it as, well, I'm going to school you today,
Yes.
and not in a bad way, but in a
Yes.
more of,
Educate-
let me
you
educate
need-
you and
yeah,
enlighten
absolutely.
you today about why women deserve this, or why, you can use yourself as an example,
Yes.
right? Because sometimes we relate more to
Right.
personal touch than just, well, they said, statistics says, right?
true.
So.
So true.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Thank
interesting
you.
conversation,
Very nice.
and I can't wait for us to get to. There's another bit, which is what this is for. And it's been such a rich and necessary discussion so far. So thank you so much, Ronke. Now let's lighten the mood with something practical and fun. Coming up is our life hack of the day, and after that, the always spicy agree or disagree segment. So don't go away. Welcome back. It is still the big conversation, and we're going on to our agree or disagree segment. As you can see, I've got my board, and it says agree and disagree. But we're hoping that no one sits on the fence today. But here's the question on the screen. The question for today is, most women don't get promoted because they are not assertive enough. Most women do not get promoted because they're not assertive enough. DT.
It looks like I want
DT,
to
most
sit on the
women.
fence.
Oh, okay. Told you. You agree or disagree? No sitting on the question. Okay, Ronke. Most women. Really? Actually, say
I was going to say
seriously.
that really.
I do agree, yes.
Yes.
Disagree.
Disagree. Okay,
But
good.
you could be,
Okay.
Can I go?
Okay, yes, go on, DT.
You could. I would say.
First of all, let us all
I don't have to
let's
sit.
stand on one
Okay.
stand on one side.
Yeah.
DT. Okay, good. Okay, the Ronkers are united.
Okay.
All right, DT.
So
Go ahead.
of course, you could be a woman that wants to, put everything, fight for what you need, but the system, might just not be favorable. It's not, no policies that would even allow that to even happen where you work. You can't be as assertive as much as you want. But if the organization you are working for, they are not ready to shift, they are not ready to, put out the policies and all that, you're gonna fight forever.
Forever.
So I don't. There are assertive women that are assertive, like they want it, but it's just that
Right.
where they are is not favorable. So
Okay.
that's why I would say, it's not only about being assertive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Ronke. Where do you agree?
I agree because I just, from personal experience too, and I say that because there was a role I was in and I got into that organization. It was a different, so it's still in the clinical trial space, but it's in a different section of that.
Right.
And when I interviewed for the job, I told them right there and then, I said, this is the role I'm aiming for, although I'm happy to start with this, but this is where I'm aiming for. The person that interviewed me happened to be my line manager. And right from the first day I started, I said, what do I need to do to get me to
here.
that role I told you I wanted to be in?
Right.
And we worked together. But a lot of times I just feel like most qualified women, so
Yes.
sorry to refresh your question, but I would say
Yes.
most qualified women
don't get promoted.
promoted because they're not assertive enough, right? I understand that people want to play the politics of workplace, but you also have to speak up.
Yes.
And assertiveness does not mean like yelling on top of
Yes.
your
Yeah,
voice.
true.
It does not mean that not maintaining decorum. It just means speaking up for yourself, advocating for yourself. Yes, we want people to sponsor us, but you need to speak up for yourself because no one speaks to your capability more than you would, right? No one can vote for you more than you do or believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So that's why I think, some women don't get promoted because they're not speaking up enough. They're not not that they're not hardworking, but they're not selling themselves
Visible,
enough.
yes.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay. Barrister told you.
I said
You
I disagree. I'm
Yes.
using my own personal experience.
Yes.
I was in an organization where I felt, okay, this is where I'm aiming at. I want to get to this particular place. And I say it like everybody, even before the election time. Some people, my offense was that, you have the temerity to even say that you want to aspire to go to that position. I'm like, why? I can be very assertive. I will say what I want, and so that was one of the major stumbling blocks for me that it didn't work.
You were just
Yes,
assertive.
so that's why I'm going. So I don't
Yes.
agree with that. This thing, that if you are
Right.
not, I was assertive. I'm
Right.
using my own personal. So now I'm creating my own table.
Oh, I love
and
it.
I'll be
This
inviting.
That's
Why
upcoming.
is this on this
Invite
table?
me.
I want to be on that table as well.
No, you'll be there now.
Exactly, because we created
Yeah.
one table. Now.
Yeah. Table is already
for me,
created.
I totally
Just-
agree with everything Ronke said because the question was most women. I like that you said most qualified women because I have seen, oh my goodness, especially young girls. We've kind of given young girls this baggage as well to feel as if
don't have to
I
fight
can't
for
speak
it,
up.
you
If I
don't-
speak up, they're going to blacklist me. And for me, I'd rather be blacklisted, to be honest.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, too many scared women.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend the boss.
Working
I don't want to,
on
and I
one.
want to give
don't
my
want to
personal
rock
example.
shows.
I remember when I came to Ibadan, I came to serve 16 years ago, and then I got posted to the radio station I was working at before, and I met the founder. The chairman was just walking by. He just asked me a question. We're just talking. I'm like, oh my goodness, how can she,
Yeah.
So even he was very intrigued by that because not very many
They're
people,
bold and
who
all,
see
yeah.
their chairman, who see their
And
boss,
just
and don't
engage them.
and do
Yeah.
this whole, thing. And for me, just speaking up got me promoted, got me better pay as a copper at the time, got me a car. Just being able to speak up for myself and say, because he was saying, oh, you're so brilliant, you should stay. And I'm like, after service, I'm definitely not staying here because I hear what you pay your staff. And he's like, don't worry, I'm going to pay you well. A lot of women need to just die, all die and I die.
Yes.
I like, all die and I die because it's the fear. It's the, oh my God, what if I speak up? But I always remember that there are lots of girls coming behind me. And I put that responsibility on myself and how I speak up for them and speak up for myself, open doors for other women. I have interviewed people and I see women and I just see that, oh my goodness, you're, and I've had to tell people, up your salary a little bit because you deserve better than this. So I know it that most women do not get promoted. Also, just like what Ronke said, a lot of us are working hard and other people are taking the glory because we just want to be humble. No, I'm not going to be humble. And people don't like that. That I'm not humble. That I tell you I did this, I did this.
Aggressive.
I am very aggressive. If I do work, you will know that I do that work. Not in a,
but
I will
you
let,
show that I've done this now.
That's why I love social media, that I'm able to put my digital footprint
out there
in a way
without
that you
anybody
know,
stopping
yes,
you.
this is my work. And a lot of women don't like to do that because we've been told to just be flowers and sit pretty.
No.
Exactly. And
We
for
won't
me,
get to the table doing
If
that.
I give you an example, recently my husband went somewhere with my first daughter, so his friend, they were talking, so feminism thing, and she carries feminism on her head, so she was arguing with him. At the end of the day, that's a friend to my husband. I said, in pidgin, this your pikin won't marry, so with this
can imagine.
kind of
You can just
mindset.
imagine.
I'm like, why? Because she's
she has
expressing
a voice
herself,
and
and this
she's
is her
speaking her
position,
piece.
this is what she feels. So, like that.
she will marry. If I got married, she will marry. If she wants to get married, there are men out there who are very
they like women like
feminist
that.
in there. Yes, and women who are outspoken. You will be shocked.
Yeah.
My husband is very
So
quiet.
imagine
and
if
he
she
likes
was
that
in an
I'm
establishment.
Same
For
here.
her to say that means, okay,
Yes.
we are waiting for you. You are not going to
Absolutely.
get that promotion because when we
Yes.
put you there, you do too much.
So I mean, in that kind of situation, when a woman's faced with this kind of situation, what would you advise them to do? For someone especially who's not the most assertive person or who just wants to just play it cool, how would you advise this kind of lady in this kind of organization? They want to get promoted. They see all the guys, you know, getting up there. What would you advise from Care?
Keep speaking. And if it doesn't work for you there, then leave.
It's not the place for you.
That's not the only place, right?
I would advise if you, maybe that job means a lot to you, keep speaking and then with a dash of diplomacy.
That's
Just tone it down.
politics.
You are still saying what you are saying, but you just add that pinch of diplomacy whenever you are saying, so that you can be there for as you aim for.
Sorry for cutting short. Where do you think this comes from, though? Because I was reading up somewhere where it says, in schools, for example, in secondary schools, girls outperform boys.
Yes, true.
But then something just happens where because I know a school owner who was here too, who complained about that. In school, the boys are just like, they are giving, best in maths, Shade this, best in English, Chinyere this. The girls are outperforming. But where does that shift happen? Where boys just, you know, just now become the CEOs, the MDs, and all of that. Where did that shit happen for girls? What do we tell them that makes them think?
So when they're in secondary schools, what speaks for them is their hard work, right?
Yeah.
And so there's nothing like, okay, I can speak more than this or that. So that's just pure hard work that speaks for you. But once you kind of leave secondary school or even college and you're out in the world, it's really more about how can you navigate
streetwise now.
Right. It's about being street smart, right? So it's about how do I couple my experience, how do I couple my knowledge and skills, but do it in a diplomatic way, you know, in such a way, you know, for example, I always tell people, when you go to an organization, identify who the decision makers are. Don't just be friends with, okay, people are just talking.
Identify the decision, but then they say you're joining a cabal.
That's fine.
That's what just said now.
That's cool.
Let them say.
It's all talks, right?
Yeah.
Until they see you getting promoted, right? But identify who. So say for example, you're in the HR department. Who are the top 2 people that are
Decision
the
makers.
top shots?
Politics.
Those are the people that you know, if they need extra help with their work, you'll be like, hey, I can help you with this, because you're also showing them what you can do.
Yes.
And they've noted you.
Exactly. And they will know to, you know, your.
And everybody likes a diligent person
Exactly.
who does the work.
And they can count on you, right? Now, don't say you can do this and then they give you the work and then you don't
do it.
and then you don't come through, right? But identify those decision makers. It's about playing the politics at the workplace too, but do it diplomatically in a way that it works to your advantage. And I see a lot of people go out and don't network. Your company that you're in right now is not the end and be it all, right? So you can. Now, I'm not saying up from one station to another, right? In an example, but I'm just saying, you know, if you work in the banking sector and there's like a banking industry networking event, go there, talk to people, let people know what you're doing, you know, obviously without diverging information about where you currently work. Because again, if you diverge information and I'm someone from another place, I'm like, okay, so that's what you're going to do, right? So make sure you do it in a strategic way, but network, you know, your network is your network.
Sure.
So you got to make sure that while you're doing that, you're also showing yourself. But if you're in an organization, and it's not the only organization, they can be one of that in that particular sector. So make sure that, you know, you're being diplomatic, you're being strategic about your moves and what you're doing, and start looking elsewhere, right? If it doesn't work out there, it will work out somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And keep speaking up for yourself
So true, and add value. Everybody loves a valuable person.
Yeah, once you do that, people, you know, they gravitate towards you. It's natural. Yeah, she does bring value to the table.
But I am looking at it from another spectrum. The issue of when you are in secondary school, you are doing so well then in higher institution, because that's where it starts. I think sometimes, that's why I tell girls, focus. Focus on your goal, because you dabble into all kinds of team relationship. For guys, it's conquest. They can be in a particular level and they are seeing 3 girls. They don't. There's no attachment. You now carry psychological scars up and down. I'm fortunate to go to school with my children's mate when I went to do law, and a girl walked up to me in my class and said, Mrs. Ikime, so and so happened. She has dated 3 people in that class. You know, we move as a cohort, 100, 200. I was like, okay, don't kill yourself. Let it go. Just go back and refocus. So imagine that kind of girl. She will end up with, if not a pass, because she's struggling with a lot of the guys. They are seeing it as conquest. Have you been there? And then one thing, girls too, we lie to ourselves. Maybe this guy has slept with you. and then you see him chasing your friend. Instead of you to be truthful to that person, you will just pass, and then that same injury, psychological scar. So girls, they carry a lot of things as they go along. So if you don't focus on your goals, and that's where your self-esteem and everything is, that you invest in, that's where you build it, your armor.
That's true.
Yes.
And even when you get out, even your career, you have to have a focus. Sit down. What do I want to do? Do I want to become MD of this space by in how many years? Guys do that. But a lot of girls just let me just start working. Let me just work somewhere.
Baby girl life.
Baby girl life. Ask them
that
be focused.
Where do you want
to be? In my husband's house. And there's nothing wrong with being in your husband's house in 5 years.
But let us know that
there's life. Absolutely. There's life beyond getting married. There should be more to you. Girls don't sit down and focus and chat a career.
A girl, and they say, I say, when a guy says to you that you are beautiful, don't let it make you go mad. God said, where is that all things bright and beautiful?
God already
created, so you are created, you are a beautiful person. That's how they enjoy you. What is it called? So be focused. For especially for girls.
Even at work
it is from university level. You see some girls, what they want to be, they already know.
Yes.
I want to work in this firm. I want to be with so person. But if you now allow, because if you're armor, if you are weak, when you enter an establishment, one guy will not can just take
another distraction,
advantage of you. So you are piling up the scar, psychological scar upon psychological. You cannot pull yourself.
They say we gotta go. Any last words, Runke?
I would just say, sponsors out there, make sure you're sponsoring people that are qualified. And as a woman, to make sure you're speaking up for yourself, make sure that you're showing your worth, even if it's unsolicited, right? Speak up either ways. Don't wait to be picked up. Don't wait to be picked as the next person. Make sure that you're speaking up for yourself. And transparency matters too. As she was saying about, make sure you're telling the next person. It's also transparency in pay, right? If you know your friend is being offered a position, hey, here's how much they pay in my company. Make sure that you're getting the same thing. Because a lot of times you're like, oh my gosh, thank you. I always say the first thing they offer you is not the best they have. So make sure that you're shooting high.
Oh my goodness, what a power-packed show. That wraps up today's edition of The Big Conversation. We've talked ambition, obstacles, and biases, breakthrough moments, and hopefully helped bring clarity to one of the most important debates in modern work culture. Special thanks to Runke Awojodu for her insights and inspiration, and of course to our viewers for also riding with us on the fabulous DT and Toju. Remember, glass ceilings may exist, but every ceiling is breakable with the right support, strategy, and strength. Don't forget to keep the conversation going online using the hashtag #TheBigConversation and tag us in your takeaways. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep speaking up, and keep it real. It's been a fabulous edition of The Big Conversation.